order. Sorry. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Time is 7:03. I'm calling it to order because this is the annual reorganizational meeting where the officers are to be elected in one of the first agenda items. But before we do that, the next item is a pledge of allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Help me start with our Father.
Okay, that worked too.
Hey,
Yeah, right.
public school. Roll call. Let the roll reflect that all board members are present, with the exception of Lance Rongstead and Derek Miller. I'd like to report that the meeting has been properly noticed, and as a reminder, it is being recorded. And then the next agenda item is election of board officers. Now, there's a couple options. Again, there are 4 officers to be elected: president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk. You can do each one individually, or you also have the option to nominate a slate of officers for expediency. So I'll turn it over to the board to conduct nominations and elections.
I would suggest we do a slate.
Maybe,
So moved. Current slate.
Jeff Redmond is made a motion to elect a slate of officers, which would consist of
The current officers.
current officers: Erica as president,
Josh.
Josh as vice president. We do have a vacant treasurer.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so
Dave for treasurer and me for clerk.
Dave is treasurer and Jeff is clerk. So I have
I'll make
a motion. Jeff, that slate of officers. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, Brad, second. So that is the nominations. Any other nominations? And we need a motion to close nominations, I believe.
So moved.
Jeff, motion to close nominations.
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Mike, second. Erica, second.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll call a vote for the slate of officers. All those.
Vote on closing first.
Oh, we got to vote on closing it first.
Yeah.
All those in favor of closing nominations, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, so then the slate of officers again is a review. Erica Herrick as president. Right, Josh Pettit, vice president. Dave Roos as treasurer, and Jeff Redmond as clerk. Any other discussion on that? All right, this time we'll have a vote, a voice vote. All those in favor of that motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, and I'll turn it over to our president for at least another year, Erica Herrick.
All right, thank you. So welcome for visitors. Is there any public comment today? No. Right. Moving on then to highlight on youth. We have high school service day. High school business teacher Tracy Crowley. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. I usually talk outside. My name is Tracy Crowley, and I'm the high school business and marketing teacher. And we this year planned what was a community service day with my business management class. And I just want to introduce you. If you can look on the screen, it's a small class. We have mostly sophomores and 1 senior. And my challenge for them was to implement and plan a community service day event for St. Croix Central High School. And the reason I did that is, number one, in our business management class, what I teach is the functions of being a manager. And one of the functions is planning. And so Tim was gracious enough to share with me your strategic plan. When we were talking about strategic plans and tactical plans and operational plans, and I brought that to my students and I said, let's look at our board's strategic plan and figure out something we can do to do more of an operational plan or a day-to-day plan on how we can do a cool event. And so we came up with the idea of a community service plan. And if you can look, here's our standards, our essential standards for the class, and they have to demonstrate effective planning. And when I came up with the project, I'm like, how do I go deeper? I mean, we can plan something on paper. You don't know if it's any good, right? I mean, in paper, it could be beautiful and it could be wonderful. And so I really wanted to take it deeper. So what we did is you can see kind of the leadership, and one of our substandards is I can identify the role of community service and service lane in family, community, business, and industry. Why community service? If you look at what the district's vision is, it's really to provide that model of excellence. And again, I could be like any other teacher and say, we're going to do this great plan on paper, but that's not a model of excellence. A model of excellence is let's take that one step farther. And if anybody knows me, I'm always challenging my students to go that deeper step. And so we wanted to take that plan and really put it into action. The benefits of community service is obviously we wanted to find a way to give back to the community, increase civic responsibility in our students. Why is it important for our students to get out into our community? Being a CTE teacher, I wanted to say thank you. I know you're building me this nice new addition, and I wanted to find a way to tell the community I appreciate that they voted yes for this referendum. And one way to do that is say, hey, let's have our students and our teachers give back to the community. So our plan was really, did you want to take this first? Peyton, I'll let Peyton introduce herself. So the students, I gave them the challenge. Here's what I want. I want a community service day. And I said, here you go. They had to not only plan it, but they also had to sit down with Mr. Nussbaum and present their plan for his approval before we kind of rolled it out. So I'll let Peyton introduce herself and kind of go over what our plan was.
All right, hello, my name is Peyton Moa, and then I'm one of the students of Mr. Collins' business management class. So our plan for the 9th and 10th grade students was that we would propose community service project is that we wanted to first start off with like a more younger age. We know that most students start and participate at school when you're younger. So obviously freshmen and sophomore, they're going to be more likely at school because of that. So we decided to start it this year for just sophomores and freshmen. And then each year we also plan to increase that a little more. So next year we have a goal of maybe trying to get like into fall, have the juniors and the seniors doing it. And then in the spring we'll have like the, again, sophomores and freshmen. And then, like I said, again, 10th grade and 9th grade, they just participate a little bit more, and then, anything like that. All right, so these are kind of like the first steps of our groups and what we kind of did. So we contacted locations and workshops around the community and determined like what types of work were available. So one group, we were split into two groups of 3, one to take care of the sophomores and one to take care of the freshmen. And so we contacted our locations, such as, so freshmen went to Little River, and then the sophomores, they did like work around like town halls. So they contacted, we had like phone numbers, emails, and tell them like, oh, did you need any like blackthorn taken away, or cleaning up the playgrounds, anything like that. And then we planned out grouping of each students and staff assigned locations, and also found coverage for staff, just in case, because subbing is kind of hard for them these days. And so there's that. And then we also arranged buses and lunches. So for students who obviously who can have like any time to pack a lunch or anything like that, we had our lunch ladies. We like give them forms and allowing like students to also just in case it was a little easier, just to give them snacks and everything like that. And then we also learned the process of screen printing. So for the screen printing and the t-shirts were also free for the students. They were given to them for free, and we gave them to them so that we could represent our school. So when you go out, you go to see students either working on the highway or working at like another park, either at the town hall, you see our shirts, and that is the process that we did. And then we also created emails for staff and parents, informing the students and everywhere like that, just letting them know about the day. And then we worked with our school nurse to include like first aid kits or any medication that students needed, just in case, anybody had anything that they were allergic to or just anything outside of that. And then we worked with the sites together at the needs, supplies, and equipment. So let's say if you're going to the town hall, you might need like a pitchfork or anything like that, just to like take care of all the groundwork and like that, or like breaking leaves or anything. You never know. And then we also supply the students with like gloves and like water bottles. And then at the end of that, we also created a reflection sheet for the students and the staff, so they'll let us know their feedback and what we can do for better next year. And then lastly, we arranged like picture, as you guys all saw, and we wrote that and put it into the Gulfland bulletin notes. So for the sophomores, this is the group that that I went to. So my group ended up going to the highway, and we went and cleaned up the highway. We went into the ditches and we cleaned it up, and then we put them in trash bags, and then we just went on for a really long time. Other groups did also go to the Roberts Town Hall and painted the bleachers there. Some people went to, I think a few went to maybe the police station and helped out there. Just a lot of parks around, helped out and cleaned up, picked up a bunch of mulch and everything like that. And then we also went to the bus garages and the school forest. The bus garage, we helped clean up buses, helped clean up vans, everything like that. Yeah.
How many miles did you put on? Do you remember? How many steps did you get the day? to get
Oh,
on?
yeah, my group at least, we reached around like 10,000 steps. Some other people work a little bit more because either you walk to more other places or you just, or you ride a bus somewhere else. So yeah, we at least reached around like 10,000 steps, and I think a little bit more after going to the bus garage.
Fun.
Okay, my name is Michael Saka. I'm a senior. Alright, as part of Miss Crowley's class, I went with as freshman.
Okay, take a deep breath.
Yeah. So I went with the freshman. We went to Willow River Park. The day was Thursday. We tried doing those like days like in between the weeks, so students couldn't skip, or if they, and so we try also to like make it so they leave in the morning, come back right before school ends. So it's not like a fun day. It's like take this serious for the community. It's saying thank you for allowing us to have a school, have such a wonderful community. The location, like I said, it was Willow River. The jobs, it was we cleaned the beach area. We readjusted the bumpers in the playgrounds because sometimes they play rough, so the bumpers get knocked down. So we dug it in, put it back together. We cut buckthorn. Mr. Johnson came with my group, so yeah, we did that one. Brush, pick up trash, and like just had an amazing day. It was like sunny day. It was like, and we also kind of did also like during this time, so it was like it's not too hot, not too cold. It's like perfect, and like and the reviews, everybody's like it was a fun day. It was fun being outside. After like being in school and like almost at the end of the school year. So what we're trying to do for next year is so for in the fall to have it for the juniors and seniors, and we also did it in the fall, so it's not repetitive as the spring. They have different jobs, they can have different areas they can do, and also for staff, because if we do it like a 1 day thing, who will cover for everybody, And so for the freshmen and sophomores, we basically chaperone. If you're a teacher of that class, like you're mainly focused in that grade. So what we're trying to do for next year is if you're focused on like seniors and juniors, if you teach mostly, then you'll probably go like to the community service. Include a list of also like so like contact places or organizations. Be like, okay, get the word out so like next time, like next year, like by the fall, they know, oh, it's about this time will they do the community service. So stuff we've been trying to do, we could get them to that, or like in the fall. So like get the word out so the organizations could just like have more stuff for us to do, and they would go way smoother, and we would have more productivity. We also like take volunteers as well. Like if let's say that day you're like you're not working, you're at home, eating chips or something. You know, you can just come in and volunteer. And get, we're also trying to get like all the teachers involved. Like, because some like some of the juniors and seniors teachers, they're like, oh, why weren't we able to go? So like we're trying to get every teacher involved. Here are some of the pictures. The first one is freshman group. I think they were picking up, they were cutting thorn and putting it in the pile. Second one is the teachers that went, which is Miss Gillis, Miss Wilker, and Miss Sundin. Yeah, they went for that chaperone. Top right is they were painting. That's the sophomores, I think. They were painting the bench. The bottom one, I think they're just scraping the
Pretty mulch.
yeah. Top left is they were readjusting like the beach area where sometimes the plants outgrow the like where this is. Like they were like taking out the plants and like cutting everything. The bottom one is they were mixing paint to the bleachers. The middle one is where they were picking up trash. They were going through the trails, picking up trash, helping put sticks to the sides. The top one is where they were readjusting the bumpers. They like dug it out, readjusted. The bottom one, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something.
Wow.
I think it's at the tractor pull track.
Yeah, I think so.
They were picking rock and moving new stuff.
The far right is they were picking up the tree branches and putting them to the sides. Because Willow River said, just make big piles. They'll come with their skid steers and we'll just pick it up on their. We'll know what to do. So we just made piles. So they picked it up. The bottom one, I think it's in the Roberts. The bottom where the tree is.
I think that was actually at the Hammond Lions event.
Yeah, Hammond. That's.
And I just want to say, like, first of all, thank you to our administration for letting us do this. I mean, to turn something over to kids scared the crap out of me. I'm sure Newsbound and Johnson were probably the same way. But just to give us the faith to let us do something like this. And these kids, I mean, when they showed you that list, I mean, when they had to call businesses, like they wrote out a script and it's like, hi, my name is, and by the first one, I'm like pulling my hair out, like, okay, guys, we gotta practice this. Because phone skills is not something like they're good at. And to do that as a high school sophomore or a senior, I am just so stinking proud of these guys. Like, that's what it's all about. So thank you guys though. I'm super excited to hopefully be able to continue this next year. I think all of the sites we went through, we had awesome feedback. The teachers that didn't go are like, Michael was right. Why didn't we get a chance? We want a chance. The seniors and juniors are like, oh, we wish we would have the chance. And so we're hoping to continue this next year. And again, breaking it up. I know Baldwin a lot of times hits at spring, so we had a hard time trying to even find spots at first. So these guys made tons of phone calls, did some arranging with different parks and different town halls and the community even letting us come to do the jobs. And hopefully now that we have this set up, it will continue. And like Michael said, in the fall, there will be raking leaves and just, it might look a little different for our juniors and seniors, but the process was the same. So thank you guys for that opportunity, letting us do that. And I hope you guys are excited as we are, because man, it was awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, I just want to thank you for your initiative, right? You saw the strategic plan, let's do it. You talked about always pushing the kids, and they're capable than much more than a lot of people, give them credit for. Nobody rises to low expectations, right? So I'm really impressed, like Michael, when you were talking to Peyton too, the level of detail and thought you put into the planning was amazing. Like from the time to the weather, to who, to the teachers, to, the groups, to, I mean, every level of detail was very, very impressive. So the thought that went into that is amazing. And it's obviously a win-win, right? So much learning to be done, but almost so much work to be done too in our community. So kudos to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Okay.
In addition, Willow River was really impressed with their kids when they heard that we were sending sophomores. The freshmen went there. I don't think they anticipated how helpful they were going to be. And so they had a few tasks kind of laid out, you kind of go here and, pick up some garbage off the beach. And then when the workers at the state park saw how hard our kids were working, they're like, oh, well, then you can do this and you can move over here. And pretty soon we had piles of brush that were, the width of the room and getting higher and higher. And when we were leaving, the park ranger that was there said, if you're going to do this next year, about the same time, we've got over 1,000 trees that are being delivered. I think you guys could get all the trees planted in a day. And so they've already kind of got something now in their head, thinking that if St. Clair Central comes back, we'll be able to plant these trees. And that's a kudos to Tracy's leadership and the behavior of our kids and the fact that they're willing to just dig in and go to work. If it would have been miserable for the state park and they would have had to babysit and clean up after us, they wouldn't be forward thinking about how we could help them out. And at the end of the day, he's like, all right, I got, here's a new challenge. Here's 1,000+ trees that we want to plant. So pretty cool.
I mean, and the water treatment plant in Roberts, those kids had to they had to spray the tubes down and wipe them down with paper towels 7 miles. Because otherwise the algae doesn't break down the stuff in it because they need the sun to get in it. And so I didn't know what they had planned. So when they got back, I'm like, good for you. Our kids were out in the community and my students and I did a really good job before we went out saying, here's the expectations for the day. You're representing SCC, and we had, the kids were worried because sometimes when we do fun things, right, the kids take it as a fun day and our core office gets bombarded with phone calls for kids that are sick or have an appointment. And the kids put an email out to the parents like, here's what the expectation is. We're going to have first hour. And the kids thought of that. Like, we can't do it all day because then the kids aren't going to show up. We need some class in that day so they show up. And kudos, like I said, I couldn't be prouder.
And our attendance was pretty solid.
Yeah, it was. I think we had 8 kids and 6 kids. And so for us, that's just a normal school day. So
I'm sure a lot more ideas will be sparked from that. And
yeah,
I mean, we have a lot of businesses in our community that, do stuff for our school and donate to our school that would, probably love some participation in that.
And we have
I'd
had
be happy to
conversations.
donate my time the next time you do it and bring some people from my company. So.
Yeah, awesome. Like I said, so thank you. Just to have that support of our community and our board and our admin was, for my kids, it wasn't just a project on paper. And I said, you now created a legacy. Those 2 that came, this is your legacy. If anybody knows Michael, wow, that is a success story all in itself. And to be proud of a community he didn't necessarily grow up in. He hasn't been here since kindergarten, so that kid is, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty cool. Awesome leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to comments by board members and superintendent. We have the referendum update.
Just had our weekly meeting at the high school. Things continue to be on schedule and going well. But the 5-week schedule we go over is 3 pages right now. So a lot is going on as we hit the finish line. Lots of coordination. Mark and Johnson continues to do a terrific job coordinating that. But again, substantial completion will be done the first week in June is the plan for substantial completion, and then punch list stuff out. They're already starting punch list stuff in some of the areas. Also another milestone, we had our first middle school coordination meeting today. So then once the summer hits, they're gonna have to really impact the middle school. lots of HVAC and ductwork and ceiling work, and it has to do with the new air handler that goes above the big gym. But lots of coordination, obviously, when you have summer school going on, and coordinating moving rooms and shutting down gyms for a while and refinishing gyms, etc. So the planning there, again, is meticulous. I think that's going to go very well. Other milestones, the bleachers. Again, some folks, when I saw that the bleachers were removed, the Hammond Lions Club, which they did a lot of work at, they're the tractor pulls. They took the bleachers, which again, we couldn't use them and move them across the field to the visitor side because of liability reasons and warranty when we installed them ourselves, and then we would remove them. And some of them, about a third of those bleachers were structurally, compromised as well. So people ask, well, why didn't we reuse those bleachers? That's why. However, Lions Club was able to take them, get them moved, right? Which there's a cost to if we would have had to move them. So they did. It was kind of a win-win. They, had moving companies and giant trucks and cranes to move them down there, and we didn't have to pay for that. So
With the Lions Club riders and
Hammond. So yeah, then the footing demo will start tomorrow or next week.
Monday.
Yeah, next week. They're gonna put new footings in there, and then the bleachers will go in July. Other milestones, Erica?
They're gonna start demo in that area G.
Yeah, so the current woods and metals and egg areas, that's going to be remodeled over the summer break, quote unquote, to make into the new culinary arts lab. A lot of work to be done there. Again, those teachers in those areas were gracious enough to say, you know what, we can start moving. We can call an audible and be flexible with our instruction these last 3 weeks of school. So they were able to move their stuff out so they could get in there early, because that is a really tight window, probably the tightest window and the most stressful is going to be this window of remodeling that entire area, which is now
They're taking down block
got
walls.
small engines in, and egg stuff is going to be our culinary arts, which is pristine, clean environment. So there's a lot of work to be done there. But again, lots of coordination. Okay.
All right, meet and confer update.
yes.
Anybody?
Yes. Who is it, the teacher one?
Or is it
Four teachers there, and then only, was it 4 or 5 support staff group?
Yeah.
Not much. Really uneventful. Yeah, they just were again notified of the wage increase across the board, the 4.12%, and what that looks like for each classification of employee and pay scale, et cetera. That was the.
Somebody just came to say, Nick came and someone they just came to say, hey, thank you, and just to meet us
I
too.
knew and I
Yeah.
meet the people, yeah, but nice, it was good.
Right. So anything else? Otherwise, we can move on to scheduled presentations by guests and staff members. And we have the ACP overview, high school business teacher Tracy Crowley is that.
Thank you.
Indeed. All right. So we'll have a consideration after this, so.
All right. I'm here to talk about E4E, ACP, PI, and every single acronym you can probably come up with in education. But the E4E just stands for Education for Employment. ACP is Academic and Career Planning. And PI, right, that's kind of the law or the statute that they put into place to have us do that. Education for Employment, it's a K-12 program, and it's really developed at the district level. And it's more, while they're available for all students, kind of the participation is voluntary. Where we get into is more of the ACP academic and career plans, and that's more of a product. And academic and career planning, or ACP, is a student-driven but adult-supported process in which students create and cultivate their own unique and information-based vision for post-secondary success obtained through self-exploration, career exploration, and the development of career management planning. What does that mean in layman's terms?
I want to be. No, I never think so. That wrong.
So academic and career planning has helped them to answer that question. What do you want to be when you're older? When you walk out of St. Croix Central, what is your plan and what is your goal? And for everybody, it looks different, right? Some have that plan. I know exactly where I'm going from A to B. And other kids are like, I have no idea. If I make it out these doors, it might be amazing, right? Like they just don't know. And as a district, it's kind of our challenge to show them here are possibilities, here are routes, and not necessarily say, here has to be your route. But what does that route look like? And if you hit a dead end, guess what? Turn around. Find a different route that works for you. And the reason, well, not only for PI 26, but it just makes sense for kids. What is your plan? How can we help them get there? Right? I mean, when I looked at the two kids that were here, what is your plan? And I get juniors, and I was like, I don't know, right? They don't always know. And that's why these conversations, and that's what this is all about, having those conversations. To have those conversations, there are certain things we need from the school board, and that is our plan for ACP and our E4E plan. The requirements of PI 26 say, number one, our pupil transcripts have to name the courses taken, how many high school credits they earned, and if they're eligible for post-secondary. Check. We do that already. We've done that for years. We also have to provide academic and career planning services to students in grades 6 through 12. And that actually began in the fall of 2017. We have to develop a long-range plan under the Education for Employment. We have to publish our plan on the district's website. You have to review it and you have to approve it, which is why we're here tonight. So I just want to go through a little bit about what we already do, and this is all in our plan. This is part of the exhibit that I think is linked in the board agenda, so if you want to kind of look at it. But what we do, every school kind of put together their own, here's what they do. So in elementary school, obviously a lot of it's going to be in the classroom guidance. So there is about growth mindset, emotional management, kindness, problem solving, and more, those what if questions, right? What did you want to be when you grow up? And getting them to think about what's all possible. So you can kind of see some of the different things they work on. They kind of broke it down by grade level. And again, it's more on the character education part at that elementary school. They do 3M Wizards presentation in 4th grade, an entrepreneurship unit. Obviously, they have computers there, so they do typing, coding, and again, just exposing them. In kindergarten, it's like, hey, what's in your community, right? And they talk about post office, and they talk about libraries, and just looking around what's in their community, what do your parents do, right? And they have those conversations with those kids. Then when we get into the 5-8 middle school ACP snapshot, in 5th grade, they have a career unit, with their guidance clients, they have a career unit in research. They work on communication, growth mindset, goal setting. And then in their advisories, they do more of that social emotional learning. And through that, they have different ACP prompts to get them thinking about it. In 6th grade, in their computers class, Mrs. Gibson has them do an interest inventory in Zello, and every kid, they're all going to be athletes, race car drivers. I'm trying to think of other ones that they came out there because, right, that's their interest level. That's what they know, and that's what sounds exciting. They also do then, we have different career clusters. And so Mrs. Gibson really looks at what are those career clusters, what are jobs available, what is the type of work you would do in just all of the 16 clusters. They also do a BizTown field trip, and they have, obviously in the middle school, they do all their student-led conferences. So that's where some of those conversations, and as a parent, if you've never been through one of those, it's the only time in life you're going to get your kids to talk about school. Otherwise, when you get home, what did you want today? Nothing. You didn't talk about nothing today? No. oh, that's sad. And here they have to sit down with you for a period of time and tell you everything they learned, and it's awesome. In seventh grade then, again, they review their Zello results. They go through the rest of the clusters. They talk about healthy choices, decision-making, education, that grit and that growth mindset. In seventh grade, they do post-secondary college tours. Again, anything's possible. So what's out there? They did do Northwood Tech, and UW Stout. And then again, they had their student-led conferences. And then in eighth grade, again, they continue with their career unit. They also do a learning styles to say, okay, here's my learning style. How do I learn best? That helps them in the classroom. But also with their learning styles, I think they also take their personality styles there. They'll say, based on your personality traits, here are great clusters to look into. And I know at the middle school, we talk more of the clusters, right? The big, let's not narrow them and pigeonhole them into one thing, but let's look at the broader picture and what are some things in there. Eighth grade is pretty unique because of course they have the career fair that they have out there. They do a career ventures field trip to Eau Claire. Their counselors sit down with every eighth grader and say, okay, what do you want to be? And a lot of times the parents are right there with that. What do you want to be? Here are classes at the high school that you should consider taking based on what your plan is now. Again, we don't want to pigeonhole kids. That's not what we're trying to do. We want to give them options just to get them that head start. And so that's kind of what they do there. And like I said, still some more of their conferences. At the high school, we look a little different. There's that. We broke ours down a little bit. So what they're required to do, of course, we have scheduling assistants at the beginning of any scheduling. Our counselors have a meeting with the grade levels and say, okay, here's what classes you have to take. Here's what 4 years are looking for. Here's kind of what 2 years want you to take. And we kind of have that scope and sequence out for them, but here are some other areas you might want to consider. You can kind of see our graduation requirements on there. And then we have other additional options for them at the high school. We have early college credit, we have CAP courses. And I thought, do you remember how many colleges that we have different agreements with? It's linked. I think it's, I can look in here.
So 3 4 Eau Claire and Stout, I think 5. So I think 5 universities, River Falls, Eau Claire, Stout,
U of M,
and
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh.
Yeah, so we have all those different colleges that we can offer students different availability in that they can take classes in, which makes us a little unique for a smaller school that we have that many teachers that are willing. I lost the spot, of course. Ooh, that's not very well good.
And we also have agreements, as Tracy Steiner spot, of course, with Northwood Tech, Chippewa Valley, and then also the one teaching class Emily Timmers does comes from a college out of Madison, not UW, but Madison Tech.
Yeah, I just met with her Tuesday to really, what do you need from me to keep this going, to get kids interested? She had 8 students last year. There's 8 signed up for next year, which is awesome because eventually those are the kids that we're looking to hire. So what do you need from us?
And then we broke it down by career readiness. Obviously, their junior year, every kid takes a career interest inventory. We do a ton of awareness of self. What are you good at? And like I said, it's hard to do that sometimes at junior year because some kids know exactly what they want to do and some kids have no idea. So it's just giving them kind of, what are you good at? Really developing an awareness of self. And that's hard to do. That's hard as an adult to do, to say, what are my skills? What am I good at? The kids also all do career research projects. So they get in and they research a couple different careers. With their career research, they also have to go out and job shadow, or we highly present, to go out and job shadow a career or do different informational interviews of careers they're interested in so they can see what a career is like. We talk about post-secondary options. And in the past, I used to call it college research. And kids are like, I don't want to go to college. I'm not going to college. And I'm like, wait a second. College is any education after high school. So I kind of just turned it to post-secondary options. That includes military, that includes apprenticeships. That includes, we talk about, Job Corps. We talk about just being in the civil service. We do talk about college research, 2-year and 4-year, just so they know their options. And so they all have to do, at least 2 different, post-secondary options that they're interested in. We have an employment unit where we do cover letters and resumes, and we try to get them in and get some mock interviews. And what's funny with the mock interviews is my business management kids have to interview my juniors for jobs, because they're the management people and my juniors are the ones who are applying for jobs. So both of them kind of get a breadth of opportunities. Along with that, obviously we have guest speakers in. I know if you ever came during any of our lunches, you can usually find colleges there, military there. We have obviously youth apprenticeship, which I am the coordinator for. So this year I know we finished 56 students this year for youth apprenticeship. So it's 56 students out, complete their standards, work 450 hours for different people in our community. So that's a growing one, trying to get more kids out there. I brought in Long Bing. Long Bing is our registered apprenticeship person for the state of Wisconsin. So if our kids want to take their apprenticeship to the next level outside of high school, we do have that option for kids to do. For those kids that don't get the 50 hours, we still have school to career where they can at least go out and work and get some credit and work on those employability skills. We have different, obviously mechatronics, we have welding academies kids do, we have kids that go out and do CNA. We really try to cater and find a way for yes for whatever their career plans are. We're a small school, right? I mean, we only have so many CTE teachers and so many areas that we're licensed to teach in. But if there's a way to find a yes for a kid, like I really want to go into this, we're going to make up a class. We're going to find some way to get them some experience. And that's unique because not a lot of schools will do that for kids. We have different, obviously next year, we're going to have more of the school-based enterprises. I'm super excited about that. We have different certifications. We have Microsoft Office certifications. I want to say there's 40 some kids that have gotten different Microsoft Office certifications, same as business people would do. It's the same test. And we have students passing that at our school. So that's kind of what we did. You can see what our counselors do. They offer a ton of the FAFSA. I know they have a FAFSA night for parents, junior parent night. They have freshman meetings where they meet all of the freshmen. And then you can see our different student organizations, forensics, science Olympiad, student government, SOS, student mentorship, National Honor Society, Future Business Leaders of America, FFA, Family and Consumer Science or Community Leaders, and Yearbook, to name a few. So that's kind of what we offer for ACP. When it comes to, I hope my video's going to click over there. Education for employment. Let's see where this stuff is. We have our team. We looked at, we had to look at our local employment trends. So I know as a CTE area and even as our ACP, we looked at our community, what are needs out there. We have different, we do in the CTE department, we have to do concentrator follow-ups every year. So we have to follow up with every senior that graduates the next year to find out, are they employed? Are they in school? Where are they in school? And so that takes our department quite a bit. And you can see we had 95 concentrators, and concentrators are people who take 2 or more classes in a certain area. And we have a ton of kids that actually are concentrators in more than one area. These are last year numbers, so the numbers are a little off because this one was 54 kids last year were in youth apprenticeship. You can see number of kids in dual enrollment. So we just do a ton there. What am I missing? Our future goals, this is kind of a big thing. Where do we want to go? We feel pretty set, I think, at most of the levels. Our challenge is how to do more ACP at the high school and involve other teachers. Right now, it's like, we don't necessarily, middle school has advisory, we don't necessarily have that set up, so that is definitely a growth area for us. We would like to increase more partnerships with our area businesses and our stakeholders. Adding a senior capstone, again, I know there's a portrait of a graduate out there, and really trying to think about what that capstone looks like for every student. Because everybody's plans are different, how do we try to accommodate some of that? Increase family participation and engagement and career readiness, and increase knowledge about ACP. Because if you looked at some of our teachers and said, hey, what are you doing for ACP? They're gonna be like, oh. So just kind of, oops, no. I did a mic up here. It's coming back. And if you look through the plan, it goes through student success. I think we hit every spot we needed to. Preparing for the future, and like I said, labor markets in here, kind of what we do for support, access to all students. And really, I know especially for me with youth apprenticeship, I've been working a lot with some of our special ed teachers saying, how do we get more of your kids enrolled into our youth apprenticeship program? Because that's where we want them to be successful and they can see some of that.
No, I think, that's a good summary of the whole piece. And I think to be very transparent, the people on the team here, I very intentionally moved, they were very kind and put my name at the top and I moved it to the bottom because this is a very well-oiled machine with very talented teachers and counselors who have spent a lot of time putting this together. A lot of this has been done prior to this year, but when we met in September as a meeting, right, ACP was under my umbrella. I said, we're going to meet, we're going to talk. And I listened. And the biggest thing that they needed from me was time to collaborate together and a place. And I gave them some lunch and some snacks, but really it was that time to collaborate because previously there's always an ACP meeting at CISA twice a year. And a lot of schools will send one person to it, which is what had been the case in the past year. Well, that's great that one person gets to go, but then you come back and you have all of that work and all of that planning, you have to find more time. So it's really kind of an oxymoron that you're sending somebody to work on this plan. So from there, I think there's been 2 half days set aside with the whole team or almost all of the team. And then buildings have also been working on the snapshots that Tracy shared, which are the only other thing I wanted to show was the website, the site that they created on, if you go to the high school website, was to be able to plan and put this all together. And like Tracy said, number one, I think, is getting this, yeah, right there. So number one in getting this to be bigger and beefier than it already is to get our other teachers involved. And so that means that these folks on this team and myself need to, during PD days or building learning times, get out and let them know what this is, which is we've done that with some other areas this year, but getting that out there. They've talked about putting just a simple Google form that's in every principal's weekly message saying, here's what ACP is. What are you doing in your class? Because that's the issue, right? Luke Fritchie could be doing something in his class, but he doesn't realize that it ties to ACP. So now we can have this form easily accessible. They don't have to dig in their Google file. It's out every week. They can go in and say, here's what I did. Here's who came in. And it goes right into our ACP plan as something that we're doing. So this is Google's site. So it's embedded into our school website. And all of the snapshots. Yes, we have to have this in there. So this got linked in today at about, I think, 1 o'clock. I emailed Stacy. So that will be in there. But then this is the snapshot. So great place for parents, community members, teachers to go. But again, it's knowing that it's there. So getting this out there. But they worked really, really diligently to get this completed. This is a lot of work to not only have it on paper, but to then make it accessible via the web. So,
and like I said, I think the beauty is having a K-12 team to work on it. It's not just disjointed people from each building kind of doing their own things, but really making a concentrated effort And just like I said, showing kids what their options are when they leave our doors and giving them that that first push or that first step. And so that's really what ACP is all about.
So specific to the high school, does this correlate to like the work release program at all? Is there any tie-ins to feedback from, kids that leave school and go work and bring back any of this data that you're providing?
We try to have those conversations. Like we know, obviously we have those conversations. That's what our concentrators follow-up survey is to find out what they're doing. And we try to have, because in our programs, especially in CTE, our struggle is, do we go wide or do we go deep? And so that's just something in our department that we have to kind of tie in with ACP as let's say I'll be generous and say 1.5 business teacher program. How do I try to cover every single pathway and hit as many different areas as I can, or do I try to really take those kids deep in one area? And so that's what this is going to help us with by having those conversations. Are we doing the service? Are we hitting all the needs? One of the places I know we struggle with is IT. I'm going to be very honest, our information technology. We don't have one teacher dedicated towards it. So that's where if we do this research, right, we can pre-plan and say, okay, we know this is a need in our district, or we know it's a need in our local regional pathways. Let's come up with a plan ahead of time, right? Instead of being reactive, let's try to be more proactive. And that's what this is really all about, is helping us with the planning and identify those needs, coming up with a strategic plan or some kind of plan to put that into place to do that. And it's not always about hiring staff. How can we work smarter, right? And how can we maybe rearrange what we're doing to get more of that in? And that's what these conversations, I guess, is having a K-12 team is all about. Maybe it's not at the high school, because at the high school level to do IT, we need a few different licenses than what we currently have. But they can do all the coding and a whole lot of IT stuff at the middle school because their licensure is different. But at least if we have these conversations, we can plan for it ahead of time, if that makes sense. And that's kind of, hopefully I answered some of your questions, but we also work with post-secondary. What are they offering? What should we be offering? And like I said, having this plan, I think we've always had it, but we never had it documented. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we need to do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, a couple of comments. This is amazing. School board knows that for a number of years I've been pushing. It's like, how come my kids don't have a IEP? Like, and so we pushed, and the boards finally said, yes, let's build some sort of individualized education program that starts in kindergarten, moves through. At least it starts at 6th grade, and you start building it. Well, how do we start kindergarten to build into this? Couple of other just random thoughts. Yeah, I represent business owners. Mental health, just like here with teachers and kids, is a big issue. I think we need to start baking resiliency. I mean, we've got to stop giving everybody participation ribbon and that, hey, you're going to fail. And that's okay. That's how you learn. And we need to build into all of these things that it's okay to, my son didn't take shop class. He was going to college. He wanted to take shop class in the worst way, but you're going to be in a class with everybody that's been doing it for 6 years, and you ain't going to get an A. And so you're like, well, I'm not going to take that then because I'll screw up my grade point average. Those are the sorts of things that we need to empower kids to do things that they might fail at. And I think we don't have to call it resiliency training. It's just life. And so I think we need to build those things in that we ask kids to do things that maybe they're not going to do perfectly, and that's okay. But we learn from it. So I think resiliency just needs to be baked in, because in my world, I have business owners that have mental breakdowns every day because it can be a good thing. They're one thing away from breaking down, and we can help build that. through building in
And your
resilience.
kids would want to be in shop class going forward because the shops are really awesome. I'm saying I want to be in the shop class a little more.
The other thing, and I think, the connection with the community, I don't know, the community really knows about it. And I'm extending the community beyond Roberts and Hammond. So I'll fess up, Cindy and I go out to eat about 4 or 5 nights a week. You know, most of the restaurants, and there's kids that went to St. Croix Central that had Mrs. Hawkins that helped. And the Hudson School District hired the executive chef from San Pedro's to teach in their class. And he has this connection to get kids out into working jobs. And the restaurants love it because they need people all the time.
Yeah.
So there's places like that that are out there that they don't know what St. Croix Central's about, and they don't know the quality of kids. They see kids that went to Central that are thriving. I just mentioned there's a manager of a new restaurant in Hudson. He graduated from Central in 2013. Actually was a certified teacher, taught special ed. Couldn't make a living doing it, so he's running a restaurant. But you know, our kids are exemplary, and so to get them out on the street, I think there's businesses that'll life skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our challenge, like going forward, is also how do we bridge what we're doing in a physical brick and mortar school with our virtual school? Because we know right now we have a lot of kids that are kind of transitioning back and forth. And so we have to figure out a way, and they have plans in place. I know I've had conversations with Steph. How do we kind of mimic what we're doing? But how do we also have those IEPs for kids who are not physically in this community? When we have kids in Milwaukee, how do we have those same conversations and prepare them? Because they might look very different when they walk out their doors than when someone in a Hammond walks out of theirs. And so that has been some of those conversations we have, is how do we service, because they are also a big part of our ACP plan, and those conversations at least are happening. And so that's, to me, that's what this plan was all about, is we're having the conversations. I get we need to be out in the community. I've been dropping off gift baskets for all of my employers already, just saying, I thank you for hiring our students. And then I'm getting, hey, if you have any more kids, can you let them know we're here? And those are positives. You know, we need to do more of it. And I know that's on our growth, is really to increase our community memberships. But, you know, baby steps.
And I think that's the nice part about, if you look at our team, we have CTE teachers, we have one counselor in every building and an FCPA. That's part of this team. So really trying to work together. You mentioned the mental health. We just, with our Get Kids Ahead grant, have purchased at the elementary level and at the high school level, Second Steps, which is a mental health training that our school psychs and our counselors are being trained in, so that they can have an actual resource to use as well, because we know that actual people to have in our building through Thrive or whatnot are very hard to come by, and that's free.
It's not just the kids that have troubled homes.
Absolutely.
You know, my
It's-
daughter's a doctor, and in med school, they had 300 students in her class, medical school class. 3 of them committed suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all valedictorian,
High achievers,
overachievers, they get a
perfectionism.
B, and so they're not gonna be able to be an orthopedic surgeon. And they can't take it, and we need to help be able to prepare for that. It's awesome stuff.
Very good.
All right.
So-
So I said, thank you for throwing at it.
Yeah,
This
we're gonna
hurts me.
get a motion to approve the SCC ACP plan.
Make a motion.
Second.
So Dave made the motion. Jeff second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to,
Thank
thank you,
you.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you for everything. We'll move on to financial reports.
So is it at the bottom half?
That's right.
So as of April 30th, 2024, balance in our Citizen State Bank checking $2,527,574.24. Citizen State Bank money market account, $126,106.50. Fund 46, $57.17. Suicide prevention, $5,062.34. Debt service, $166,693.93. Referendum account, $4,066,092.89. Second referendum account, $3,702,022.18. Debt service, $150,886.72. For a total of $10,744,495.97.
Can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Jeff, motion, Brad, second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. All right, so now we have, the consideration of the consent agenda. And we have 10 part-time and 2 full-time, curricular modifications.
Move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Jeff made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Three-way tie.
Brad, I'll just call her Brad. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we'll move on to administrative reports, student enrollment update.
I'll draw your attention to Exhibit 11A. The top grid shows the number of students that are in seats. As of about a week ago in May, 1,599 students in our brick and mortar building. The bottom right, you'll see we have 340 open enrolled outside our district in our virtual charter school. We have 39 resident virtual full-time students and 142 resident virtual part-time students. I want to point out that that virtual charter number of 340 students is an all-time high. So that's really good news. Free and reduced lunch rate holds at 28.37. Then again, just our open enrollment numbers overall are outstanding. 475 open enrolled in versus 116 out for a net of 359 students more enrolling in there. I also want to thank all the ladies in the offices for putting together this monthly report. It's very helpful, but it's very time consuming and meticulous, and obviously keeping track of up to 2,000 students and all the unique situations and living conditions that they're in takes a lot of intentional, focused work. So thank you to all the ladies that do that every month.
I was reminded how fortunate we are that most school districts have declining enrollment. I was at Ellsworth Pool scuba diving, and they had a high school science teacher who tries to get 12 to 15 kids certified in scuba diving, and then he has some summer projects for them. It's kind of cool. But I asked him how he's a science teacher in Grantsburg, how he's doing. We're doing fine, except our high school that used to have over 300 students now has just over 200 students. Mm-hmm. And that's what every school district is going through, particularly the rural.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember the exact average, but whether it's the average or median, like average school district has 500 students. I think the median is 800, one or the other. But you think about, we have half of the school districts have fewer students than most high school, a lot of the high schools.
Right.
So, or certainly grade schools where they have a bigger number. So.
Yeah, good reminder, right? We know, birth rates are down, right? Families are smaller, and the demographics, we've seen a lot of those presentations. Just a good reminder of how we need to be competitive and viable and continue to be the best district we can be, so that families want to enroll their kids here. And then, the virtual school, I was explaining to somebody earlier today, you know, we were kind of lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good when we started that. And the reason for starting that in 2014 was to keep the handful of kids that had moved out of the district that were in our virtual program at the time. That was the impetus for it. And then here, you know, fast forward, we were rolling along pretty well when the pandemic hit, and we were set up for virtual education. And now, you know, it's really a windfall for us financially, but also obviously a win for each one of those 340 kids in every unique situation they're in. So, yeah,
And
it's a good thing.
it's only good for us if it's good for kids. So you have 340 kids that are getting education, some of which would have dropped out. They didn't fit in school. They'd be at alternative schools, whatever. And so it's a win for everybody. Yeah. Good stuff.
All right. We can move on to the virtual school advertisement report.
So that's a good segue. I believe it was last month, you know, the board indicated an interest in learning more about our digital marketing. And again, as a reminder, that's something we started January 15th. We rolled it out. So right after the new year, we started planning and rolled it out January 15th. And I'll show you the first 3 months here. The fourth month ends on the 15th today. So we'll see that report from this last month any day now. But again, the Intercounty Advertiser, which does the yellow paper and the Intercounty Leader, newspaper in Frederick, etc., they had approached me just about some printing needs. And then I saw that they did digital marketing. So I said, tell me more. And, you know, we've been looking for ways to do more marketing for our virtual academy. And this was something we're highly interested in, learn more, and said, yeah, let's do that. So they had 3 different options of 35,000 ads per month. They call them impressions, 55,000 or 85,000. We decided to dip our toes in the water with 35,000. We didn't know if that was a lot or not. That is $630 per month. So, you know, that's an annual cost of $7,560. If we get one student, that's over $8,000 for the year. So that's, I think, a pretty easy gamble financially, high return on investment. So I'm going to show you the reports that we get. And
these are like pop-up ads in Facebook. What are they?
Yeah, so digital impressions, and I'll show you here in the report. But yeah, they pop up on the person's device. It could be their phone, their tablet, or their laptop/desktop. And they have different formats and sizes based to fit the device. So they pop up based on their internet browser history or things they're on, and a combination of words, etc. And I'll explain kind of. I've learned quite a bit about digital marketing the last few months. And
This is the thing where you think about something and it pops up on your. Yeah, it's like, did Siri overhear me say that word? It just popped up.
it literally,
Tim's in there listening to it.
and it's a fact. Yeah, I mean,
How
and
many
it's-
things show up in your Amazon cart?
yeah, and it is. It's, you know, part of artificial intelligence / algorithm stuff that's way beyond my understanding. But yeah, they can tell exactly how your every mouse click, every keyboard stroke, if they want, how long you are on any given ad or video, or, you know, and then they compile that in and start showing you more of those ads. So, so here is the report we get. This is the first month's. Oh yeah, I gotta share that. I'm sharing it with the viewers online, but not. Not that. All right, so impressions, again, that's the number of ads the first month. This was just, I think, before the month was up, January 15th to March 12th. She was excited to share it. So they do space it out and allow so many per day to try to spread it out for the month. But that's the number of actual ads that popped up on folks' devices. Clicks is, I think, pretty self-explanatory. Those are folks that actually clicked on it. And this is your click-through rate is a 0.15%, which average for them is 0.07. So she called and was really excited. Says, "What are you guys doing? You've seen a lot of, you know, folks signing up because of it." And I'll get to that, but we didn't really know. She just was excited that it was double what their typical rate is for that.
So is that number 50 divided by 32,000.
Correct. Correct. 175 conversions. That's the number of folks that were served the ad and then ended up clicking on our virtual school website. Doesn't mean necessarily they clicked on the ad, but they saw it, and then those same folks clicked on our virtual school website.
What percent was that?
175 actual clicks on our website to folks that were served the ad. The click-through rate is the number of folks that actually clicked on it. It was 32,890. This tells you what device they viewed it on. Majority of folks are on their phone, their mobile device, 70, almost 80% there. And then desktops and then tablets. All right, this one now is your kind of algorithm of different words that they were looking at and searching for, etc. Where then they how many actual impressions of who's served.
I can't read it. Just read those.
Yeah, degree in programs, remote and learning, continuing education, online programs, online learning, online courses, post and education, online classes. So what we did, we learned quickly, like, oh, all right, now we can change our ads and our words in our ads, and I'll show you our ads based on those, right? So that's that. And then here were the actual ads. This is the first one. It was a stock photo. We kind of had a salmon color here, but felt it important to have our logo, and then flexible online learning, right? So those are kind of, you can only have a few words. So that's where we learned, all right, what are they? So we changed it then after that. And yeah, so you can see these are the different size ads depending on their device and what fits on their screen, etc. And then there's a glossary of terms. So that was the first month. This is one I just took notes on. This one now is down to 0.07. The second month, 34,452 at the time, from February to March, middle of February to middle of March. And 222, there were more actual conversions and less clicks. So again, we looked, it was, this one had more tablets this time than desktops and laptops, but again, the majority was mobile devices. So then we learned like, oh, and I made the notes, virtual and online were some of the highest, words that were in here. The click-through rate. So then we changed our next. So then, okay, we changed this last month from March 16th to April 15th to have changed the color a little bit, but virtual online courses. We're trying that and see, like I said, this new one now, our click-through rate and impressions and conversions will be here any day now.
Will they allow us to do A/B testing within a given month?
So get what testing?
A/B, so you have this or that, and which one gets you more in
I
a given
haven't
month?
asked that
Or
question.
do we have to do it only, everything has to be the same month at a time?
We haven't asked that question.
Because you get, if you can, you would think with 35,000, you do 17,000 with virtual online learning and another that's flexible online learning to see which one, if it made a difference. You get.
I'll ask Sharon her contact.
Because it might accelerate our learning as to which words are.
And then Stacy started a spreadsheet. Stacy and I meet each month, and then reach out to Sharon if we have questions. And then if we want to change the ad, et cetera. But we're keeping notes of what we're using for the words and such. Congruently, Steph's working with Google Ads as well, work with Google Maps, a lot of things online to just try to increase, that digital footprint out there as well. I know one of your questions, and one question we have is, how do we know for sure, which kids signed up maybe because of the ad? And we, at this time, don't have an answer for that. We've talked about Steph changing her application. How did you learn about us? Yeah.
How does the application come in? It's an online application they send in?
It's all eventually has to get to that, but sometimes it's just a phone call, typically.
And who calls? Mom?
Yep, it's almost always mom.
So is there any bias in this, women over men?
It's a good question. It's another one we could ask Stacy. I don't know if they,
Because I would
they
guess
probably can't tell that.
90% are gonna be moms checking it
Yeah.
out. They're the leaders in those
Yeah.
households. So there may, some questions to ask is there something that we do to make it more female biased? So they would look at it more than a generic, who cares if you're male or female? I don't know. Those are,
There's ways to design that. We do with our company. I mean, number one buyer of water is a female that's 40 to 55.
Really?
So you can get specific with this stuff.
Your key customer. Okay.
like when Hillary Clinton was running for president, they knew that people that bought Colgate toothpaste were more likely to vote for Hillary. I mean, the big data, it's not cause, it's just coincidence. One of the best indicators of the economy is how much traffic backs up in LA. Because when the economy is going good, people drive more. I mean, it's just correlation rather than causation. So those are the sorts of things we're 35,000, is a lot. I mean, we're sending out a lot. And if we doubled it, if we find that we've gotten 2 or 3 a month, hell, let's go all in and do a whole enchilada.
There was one more thing we talked about and I forgot. But yeah, then this last month, like 1, 2 kind of back up there pretty good again. And like I said, the one from April 15th to March 15th. So
You guys meet once a month? Was that something that you're gonna talk about?
no,
Just to start your memory.
yeah.
Well, I just think we have to ask the question when they call in or whatever that process is, how did you learn about us and what made you?
Yeah.
So I'm just started May 1st doing some Google stuff. They have a special phone number that they put on my website that if they go through the website, it rolls over to my main number, but we know it came through that effort.
Yeah.
Or if they send an email, they know it goes to a special email. It gets forwarded to Rich and I, but we know that it came through.
Yeah, like one thing, post and education keeps coming up near the top of the list. It's like, that's really not the target audience. That's more for folks
Yeah.
looking at, obviously post-secondary education. So, one of my next questions is is there a way to eliminate that? Well, another thing that's very interesting is, they have a geographical mapping, I believe she called it, where you can target certain areas actually too. And I said, well, I don't feel
We
comfortable.
don't know yet.
No, because our whole state really is our audience. Anybody in this state can enroll in our virtual. So like,
Exactly.
why would we limit it? But she does have that data.
The population density.
Right.
So if we could
Bigger
hit
cities.
bigger city
Oh,
and
yeah.
get more eyeballs in that, so that might
Milwaukee's
be
a
a
burgeoning
reason.
market for us.
So that might be a reason to geo market to Milwaukee. Because hell, they have more population than the rest of the state all combined.
And you'll see, open enrollment report later too, where we're getting our open enrollment from. And obviously, if it says Milwaukee and Green Bay, those are virtual kids. They're not driving here. But you'll see there are pockets where we don't get kids, and that's because there's some real established
Strong
virtual
virtual
schools in that area, the Wausau
So
area,
maybe
Green Bay
those
area.
are ones that we can say, hey, don't bother.
Yeah. So again, it's new. Only
This is
4
awesome.
months so far, but I'm excited about it. It certainly can't hurt.
Now, those pictures tend to be focused, they are cute elementary kids. Is that where we want to draw, or is it more high school kids, or?
Yeah, the first one was a stock photo. Other one was actually a student of ours.
Yeah, I don't think that
But it
matters
was
as
a-
much, but, is it a biracial kid? I mean, those are the
An
things that
athlete, a
realize
worker.
athlete,
Yeah.
we don't need athletes because they can't be from Milwaukee, so they're not.
No, but
That's
like the
not
guys
the
that are
driver.
like playing hockey,
Yeah.
not semi-pro, but they just aren't home, or like the rodeo guys that aren't home.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
That's a really small
It
percentage
is.
of the ones that really sign up, but those are the sort of things to think about. This is all awesome.
There you go. Oh,
That's a good report.
Questions or comments?
So exactly when will we hit 400 students?
Goals.
That's their goal.
Like it. All right, moving on to the key work of our school board, student, staff, and community recognition. And we do not have any this month. And so that being said, you know, that recognition is supposed to be something for the board. I just recently learned it. Since I've been on, it seems like the administrators or teachers or staff here are the ones that are contributing. And Tim said, you know, there's some history behind that. It was supposed to be what the school board members saw in the community, and we thank them. And so if we try to just be a little bit more deliberate with, maybe, I don't know, when do you need those by? You know, if I can prompt us like, hey, go in there and just fill, you know, one or two, well, what have you seen? What are you thankful, grateful for every month, and email them to Callie, because you don't want it when you send out the final agenda, right? I mean, that's too.
Well, really with those, we can do them, I mean, the day of before.
Right, but that's, you know, I'm
it's
just thinking
nice
like,
to have them a
what
few
would
days
spark
before.
our memory? Like the prelim agenda or the final agenda, something that is like, oh, shoot, I need to. do
I
that.
usually do send out a reminder 2 weeks before every board meeting. I don't know if everybody checks their school email, but I do usually send that
Okay.
reminder.
So if I get that and then I text the board,
Yeah,
okay,
But we've had some that weren't board generated, like recognizing athletes and those sorts
it
of.
still is, admin is still going to.
Are we
Yeah.
still-
But if the board, you know, the board's goal from their self-evaluation that one year was this. So I think it's just a renewed focus
Yeah.
on that. You know, I think two prime examples would be Peyton
Tracy.
and Michael getting the one from the board,
Yeah.
what they did here tonight.
Well, and even Tracy,
Outstanding, and
Tracy for coming.
Yeah, and Tracy, yeah.
and oftentimes I will email them after the meeting, just like the teachers who have came, but yes.
There's still a lot of power in a handwritten note that gets delivered to their home. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good background, right? Because since I've been on, it just seems like the admin or teachers have taken care of it, and that was it. So I think it's just a good reminder.
We need another reminder from you, text it, so it'll be
Well,
good.
perfect. I'm glad. It gives me one more reason to say hello, everybody.
I feel like volunteer.
Again, we're in trouble.
Spam bucket.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to the core agenda items. We have a lot to get through tonight. So we have the appointment of the alternate delegate to the 24 CC11 annual convention. Jeff has reached out to CC11 saying that he would still like to be on as a
Board member.
I'm a board member.
Board
Yeah.
member on there, but he is not able to go to the meeting, and that is June 3rd at 7 PM up in Turtle Lake,
To Monday.
Monday.
What time? Stay.
7.
Seven?
I think I.
It's 7.
7.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's just their
What does it
CISA
entail?
annual meeting. You set in clusters, you know, like we're involved with Hudson and
6, I think.
these little clusters, and then each cluster that I'm not actually up for election this time,
Oh,
but
you're not.
there's
Okay.
3 people that are up for election, and that cluster gets to pick. But the tradition has always been that if when Howard lost election, then it was St. Croix Central's seat to fill. And so there isn't a lot of controversy. If no one shows up, I'm not going to change the world. I'll stick it.
That means you're off the board?
No, no.
Not this
If this is
time.
like an advisory,
No, this is the actual election for your representatives on the VOC. So for instance, if St. Croix Central didn't have someone to replace Howard, then the 4 or 5 people sitting in this cluster would have to pick them.
Hmm.
And then whatever school district that was, it's kind of their seat to, to hold until
And you were up for election last year,
I was.
right? And I went last year.
So it's like 3 every year, so there's like. I don't know,
Do we need
two.
a delegate?
I
Do we
mean,
need somebody there that night?
Does
You know.
anyone want to go and be a part of it and learn and see what it's about? Or-
there's nothing.
Nominate Derek.
I like it. I think that's perfect.
It's what I'm hearing is.
It doesn't-
As
you
long as
don't-
you're named the delegate, you don't have to have somebody show up
No.
necessarily that night to retain your seat on the board.
June, I can't, June 3rd.
Okay. Does anybody?
And what
want
would,
Because they know-
what would there be to learn? Would it be worth the trip for them to go that night?
Just the administration of the CISA.
It's an actual board meeting that,
Well,
or not?
it has the delegate meeting and that's
Oh,
a half an hour to pick people. The three, really, it's just the three people that are up. Their tables
oh,
and then meeting adjourned and then we have a board of control meeting.
so somebody
this
could
is-
sit and watch that if they want, right? It's
No
open
one
to the public.
does.
I-
It is,
It's
it's
open
technically,
meeting, right?
it is, but no one's ever hung
Probably it's a half hour
around.
meeting, you're out.
No one's ever hung around. They'll have their organizational meeting to elect officers. And I've told them that, hey, last time they nominated me to be vice chair and I said, I like being treasurer because I don't have to do anything. And this time I said, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Well,
But I see the CISA as being critical to the state because the state funding is gonna change and CISAs need to be a part of that. Some of the sharing and
And our CISA 11 is well respected in the state. Well
It
known
is
for
one of the
reputation
best.
for their, especially their ISPD, their professional development.
it's one of the biggest budgets. It's one of the biggest number of districts. Interestingly enough, we have a Head Start, which is about a $10 million operation that really no other CISA runs. So it's a really nice, clean run operation. And it tries super hard to be responsive to what the school districts need. So right now, a lot of school districts are losing their financial manager. So they're hiring CISA 11 and their finance team to do the books for their districts. Because, you're a 500-person district. You don't have the money to hire somebody that's qualified. So you contract for CISA 11 to do it and win-win for everybody.
So Callie, do we need some action then? We
need to.
are you not already the delegate?
He is.
Yeah. he's not
Is
up
Kim
for
did
election,
ask
so-
me to register an alternate.
An alternate.
Yeah,
Did they have to attend? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know.
Well, if they don't show up, they're not gonna get CISA.
It sounds like we do need an alternate named. at
Yeah.
least.
Because they know I'm not
I
gonna.
got,
Dave's
there's a
going.
motion on the table.
Dave's
I was
going.
going, but if
Dave's going.
Yeah, there you go.
you didn't put my name in, I guess.
Awesome.
They get served a meal? Do they serve a meal at least?
I think they do.
Yeah.
You can swing over the casino.
There you go.
All right. So Dave's
Okay.
gonna go. Okay.
All right,
So
perfect.
then we'll move on to consideration of recommended student fees for 24-25.
All right, so the document actually has lunch fees and student fees kind of combined, so I'm gonna go through it all at once and then
Okay.
we can vote in the order needed, but. So the recommendation is to increase breakfast and lunch prices by 10 cents across all of the different categories from kindergarten all the way up through adult visitor. We did increase the adult visitor breakfast a little bit more than that 10 cents from 256 to 270, just to make it a round number. So it was similar to all the other ones. So we haven't raised meal prices in 3 years. So we've been working on spending down our fund balance per our plan with DPI so that we don't have more than 3 months worth. And at the end of this year, we will be at that level. Just
To be
with the
fair,
increased cost.
At least one of those years, we didn't even charge anybody
Right,
lunch, so.
right, yeah. But I think 3 years ago, during one of those COVID years, we did increase it by 5 cents, but we were not charging any families, so. Yeah, and just with the cost of food going up, you can see that that milk price is increasing from 40 to 45 cents as well. Sandy said her cost is about 42 cents for a carton of milk at this point, so. So that's what we're looking at there. And then for the other student fees, if they're highlighted, that means there's a change. So you can see the music theory workbook is increasing by $5. Again, they're not able to secure those workbooks for the $15 anymore. We are adding a few things as well. We have UW River Falls, an additional music class that's being offered this year. And you can see the fees associated with that. And then a couple of history classes as well. We have a couple book fees that are being added for the ukulele and songwriting. And as far as I know today, Travis Madigan was reaching out to UW Oshkosh about the CAP class fees, and we haven't heard back from them. So this is the best that we think the rate is going to stay the same, hopefully for next year. I know last year we had to come back in June and reapprove that. So I'm hoping that's not the case. Travis was doing his due diligence, but no one got back to him.
Is this fee basically whatever they require?
Right.
So we could approve this subject to, if Eau Claire requires or Oshkosh requires higher fee, just, it's already approved, just move it up.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. I mean, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but could be a possibility. We just haven't heard at this point. So.
Because we don't really have discretion. If we don't charge that fee, the kid can't go to take that class.
Right.
So,
right.
How's school lunch funded? I mean, just, like, cause I know like Minnesota, they did free lunch again this year, I believe.
In Minnesota, the state is actually picking up the cost of that. Wisconsin chose not to do that as a state. So during COVID, the federal government actually reimbursed districts for all those free meals. That ended at the end of 22, I think, 21, 22. And then, you know, we were back to charging kids. So we do still receive some federal reimbursement for those free kids and reduced kids, and a little bit even for the paid students. That's why you see the difference between like a 9-12 lunch is $2.95, but the adult visitor lunch is $4.75. So we get some reimbursement back for those, even if they are paid, but it all comes from the federal government.
and then there's a food service budget. And to the extent we have any profits, it has to stay there.
Right, so anything related to food service must go through Fund 50. And so any money that comes in and any money that goes out goes through that fund. And then we can keep up to 3 months operating balance within Fund 50. And that's something we've been working over the last couple of years because the reimbursement rates during COVID were quite high in comparison to what our costs were because we had contracts in place prior to COVID hitting for all of our food costs. So we didn't see those large spikes that a lot of other districts did. So that's why we've been working on we've gotten a lot of new equipment in our kitchens and just some other things. Yep.
And Chartwell is the one that has a lot of food buying power.
Yes.
Because they represent a bunch of school districts. So it's not just us, so they get better.
Yeah, we're able to price
prices.
commodities, number one, it's cheaper there, but then it's subsidized, as I'm sure you're aware of. You can't serve that meal for
Right.
$2.85.
Right.
Good. But yeah, we all would love for kids to have, all kids free lunches. It'd be a wonderful benefit, but so you know, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
All right, so we can,
Just depends on where you live.
we'll just,
Depends on where you live, if there's a free lunch or
Yeah.
not. So,
So I'll make a motion, we approve the student fees, food and fees as presented with the understanding if Oshkosh comes back and requires a higher fee, that would be deemed approved.
Second.
All right, so Jeff made the motion, Dave second. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So we'll go on to consideration of recommended building usage and auditorium fees for the 24-25 school year.
So last year we did update all the auditorium fees, so those are exactly the same moving forward. Building usage fees are also the same. The only thing that's increased is the custodian and the cook hourly rates. So you can see the custodians went up quite a bit, with the 4.12% increase in salaries. The cook actually didn't go up as much because it's all based off our staff, and we had some people that were higher on the salary schedule that retired. And so that average decreased a little bit. So the 4.12% increase didn't have quite the effect with the cook group. So those are the only two changes with the building usage and auditorium usage fees.
So we need a motion.
So moved.
Dave made the motion,
Second.
Brad second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is designate Citizen State Bank of Roberts as the official depository for the St. Clair Central School District.
So moved. Second.
Jeff made the motion, Dave second. Any discussion?
The only thing I'd point out is that school districts are different than depositors because there's a FDIC limit of how much you have in the bank, and we have more than that limit. But school districts have a provision, and we've required them, and they do it. They set aside securities of the bank. So in essence, our account is secured above the FDIC limit. So that's how we can keep more money in there than the FDIC limits.
And the bank is constantly monitoring that. So if we're at a point where we actually have more than what those securities are with the FDIC insurance, then they'll go out and pledge more securities on our behalf. So to make sure that we're covered if something were to happen.
If there's any risk or liability, the treasurer of the school board assumes all of that.
I think so.
Just write a check. He's good for it.
Well, the thing is that some think, well, let's go to a bigger bank. Well, if you're FDIC, you got the same insurance, and it seems to be the bigger banks fail just as often as the smaller banks, but it's not really a risk that we have.
All right, so Jeff made the motion, Dave second. We had discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Designate the Baldwin Bulletin as the official newspaper for the St. Clair Central School District.
Are you still okay with that?
Yes, yeah, that's good. We're pleased with their coverage. Yep. Mhm.
Good.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff made the motion, Dave second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of the proposed board meeting dates for 24-25.
So you can see our board development, typically it seems that Sunday evenings work really well with this exception in August. That one is with the admin Thursday, I believe that is correct.
Yeah, it's a
Thursday night from 5 to 9 p.m. That's what we did last year, seemed to work. It just would take obviously some planning. Now the tricky part, right? This is why we try to get these everyone to really look at them because it's important. Obviously, I mean, the board is most punctual when everyone is in attendance. I understand things come up, but at the very least, need a quorum of 4 people to conduct any business. And then the board development, honestly, really is only really effective of all 7.
So we've canceled before because not everyone's been there. So it's kind of a commitment. You put it in your calendar right now and it's something that's set in stone.
With that said, you know, if we find out, you know, and you could change these a couple months ahead of time. And it's flexible, but, so typically, December is not the third Wednesday, just because it's a short month with the break there. So we go the second Wednesday. Every other one is the third Wednesday of the month for regular meetings. And then, January falls well this year. In the past, we've had to switch that because of the state convention in Milwaukee. That's a week later. So the third Wednesday in January works well as well. So that's not highlighted this year. Otherwise, it's the third Monday all month, all year, each month, except for December.
I would not be able to attend board development February 2nd. I have a mastermind retreat in Savannah, Georgia that weekend.
So,
Weekend before, weekend after works for me, but that's what weekend.
I think last year we moved it back to February because we were just getting home from Milwaukee. I think it was scheduled like that weekend of.
So
I don't worry about the Super Bowl too, right?
Yeah, that's late.
That's the 6th, isn't it?
Oh,
So if we want to look at January,
I know the 2 weekends before that are open. It's a group of 6 or 7 families that.
February 2nd or 9th, you think the Super Bowl's on
I
the
think
9th?
the Super Bowl's on the 9th.
So you're thinking of moving it up to January 26th?
oh, you've got Packer tickets?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's fair.
yeah, that's fair. So the Super Bowl is the 9th?
Does it have to be on a Sunday?
No, well,
No,
And we could go with February later too, 16th.
That'd be fine.
February 15th is the one of
You're in
them,
March.
a year ahead.
Yeah, later in February would be good.
well, as a board, so the previous board, it's work on Sunday nights. I mean, is that still everybody's thought here that it works better than during the week?
Packers schedule comes out tonight.
Well, but if,
February 16th should be fine. Then.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
We're good there.
The other ones.
The other ones.
October
oh,
13th.
October 13th.
I think we're okay there. Should be good.
Like you said, it
Can
is
always meet there.
flexible. Yeah, we could always meet there.
We just have the school board rent
Premium waters and.
box. We do our retreat there in the box.
Another referendum just for that.
Okay,
We're good.
so,
So if we change the
February 16th.
2nd to the 16th and
Okay.
understanding that we got 2 that aren't here and, but we should maybe confirm at the next meeting so that we're at least confirmed with everybody that they just work.
mhm.
Because we also have to make sure it works for me.
Yeah, the board development obviously is flexible. It's the
The meetings.
8 of us and then we.
October 13th is a maybe for me. Brian, is any of those dates mixed in with wrestling, February?
The
Anticipate the June one.
Yeah, the Sunday shouldn't matter.
Sunday shouldn't matter at all.
Monday.
Saturday.
So we want to-
regionals this year.
Do it instead in June?
We do.
What date is
I
it?
don't know.
Okay,
What
so we
day
can
is
deal with
it?
that later.
Yeah.
Okay. So this coming June, we're moving the meeting to today.
Because I had an retreat. That's that.
And
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Monday, which date?
well, that comes up later.
Monday the 17th.
The 7th.
Monday the 17th of the beginning. That changed on that. It's the 17th of August.
So I was just asking, should we move this one, but he's just not sure yet, so we'll just keep it. All right, so,
Kelly, once we get these all set, it would be good for me if you just sent out the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do
Because
that.
then they get populated and
Yeah.
I now have automated calendars, so if it isn't in my calendar, someone else could grab that time.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
So we do need a vote.
Do we?
This is consideration. No, we don't need to.
Business.
So just to confirm, are we doing the 16th for February?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tentatively,
Yeah,
Okay.
I say, yeah, if you don't mind, send a mark to everybody with an
Sure.
email that say, please check your dates now.
Okay.
So we can, if there aren't any conflicts, we can be flexible and change them way ahead of schedule.
Okay.
Alright. So we don't need to vote. So then we will move on to consideration of approval of adding curriculum advisory positions.
So this is something I didn't know how much to bring to you guys. This is something that has been on my mind all year. This is a draft, but you'll see on the back, the folks that have been selected are on there. This would serve much like a building leadership team in which we already have at all 3 sites, but this is really a district curriculum advisory. So my fear in starting this, and I've done a lot of reaching out to other districts and mentors that I've had over the years, was that, well, isn't this Steve's job to do these things? Yes. However, this is a way of building leaders in our buildings that are going to take ownership in curriculum and instruction, so that I use the term ambassadors, because they're going to be part of the collaborative work to design the structures. So think policies, procedures. They're not going to be, this isn't a content specific curriculum advisory. This is really about processes. So for example, the elementary school was doing a pilot for bridges this year. I have a lot of experience doing pilots. So I put together the cycle that I'm familiar with, that I've been trained through Instruction Partners, which is a national.
What bridges do you?
Bridges is the math curriculum that we actually officially adopted. So that's not to say that there aren't other ways of doing it and other opinions. And I would really like to do what SCC is very good at, which is collaborating and bringing others in from across the district. So probably February. So you're probably not familiar. I send out a Panther Pulse every month. So it's all things curriculum and instruction, tips and tidbits for SCC educators. In February, I put an application, February or March, I put in an application for anybody that was interested in being on this advisory with questions, really other than their years of experience and their content and their licensure, but really what makes a good collaborative teammate. And what is your desire to be on this team? And I think I had 20 applicants from across the district, not only educators, but I had counselors. I worked with each admin team to kind of get their recommendations of who they thought would be a great person or people for this position. And then if those people didn't apply on their own, I would just reach out and let them know your building administrator said you'd be great for this position, because who doesn't love to hear that? You're doing a great job, and really trying to build up our teachers, our staff, are yearning. I've used that word a couple of times too, right? For leadership opportunities. And this is a great way for them to get involved. So you can see on the back the applicants that we had, that we selected, wide variety, and that was the intent. The intent was not to have 6 ELA people or 6 math people or 6 elementary people. My goal for next year, when we do the cycle again, or 2 years, this is a 2-year stint, and you'll see in there, there's 3 of these folks will actually do 4 years, so that it will eventually be a staggered start, is to get somebody from the virtual school as well. There wasn't anybody this year that was quite ready to do this. I'm trying to intentionally meet with them more to build that relationship. Especially as we're approaching 400 students. So this is a draft. Things could change on this, but I am asking for the curriculum advisory members to be given a stipend similar to that of BLT and Guiding Coalition at the high school, because there will be times outside of these designated meetings where they'll be putting in some some sweat and some work to get these things done.
So anytime, a new position is added or there's a change to the stipend, et cetera, if it's board approved for the coaches, matrix as well as the activities matrix. And this would fall in the activities matrix, thus that's why, it's being presented to the board for your consideration.
Good.
Do you want me to go into the second one too? I think I'm next also.
Yeah.
Well, do we need to vote on this?
Oh,
You
yeah,
get
to
to
be
do it
done separately.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Right. Would like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second, say,
Dave made the motion. We'll give Josh
Yeah.
the second. He isn't. Any
He
more
votes for it.
discussion? Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we can come back next year and let you know what we've been up to.
So consideration of approval of adding Battle of the Books advisor positions.
Yes, this one I presented a couple months ago. So I figured I'd let it settle with you and then come back and ask for this to be an official advisor goal. So the goal is to also bring it to the elementary. So currently this year we had 24 students, 5th through 8th grade, mostly 5th and 6th grade, competing elementary and middle school. What we'd like is to bring it to the elementary as well and have an advisor there. And I already have at least one person interested in that position, and then have a separate position at the middle school. Again, having somebody in the buildings, I think, is crucial to being able to stop kids in the hallway and say, hey, are you working on that book? Or have you seen the list come out? But really having that day to day, I would still hope to be involved in it, just stopping by and reading with the kids and being my book nerd self, but really want to have some people in the buildings that are getting some sort of compensation. They would do it for free. We know they would, but keeping track of our hours, it was well over 40 hours of time that each Autumn and myself put in this year to do this. So
what is the stipend for that?
advisor role, so Jen said it was
It's about
$1,300.
$1,300.
Per week?
Yeah.
Yes,
Brad will do it.
and we already have the purchasing of the books covered. We're gonna be using common school funds this year. We used Title IV funds this past year. But we will be using common school funds. That's been, Jenny Franklin kind of is the tracker of all that, and she's approved that. I've gone through that, and it's typically about $2,000 to get all the books, because we have 40 books. We try to get 4 of each, so that kids can cycle through them, when they want, but that's all been taken care of too.
So $1,365 for this coming year per person, and we're asking for 2 positions. One for the elementary, one for.
My question would just, is that supported through other administration, then on to Tim? I mean, have you guys had discussions around this?
Yes.
Okay, correct.
And I've met with Shelley, Lindsay, Chance, and Jackie as well. I think I met with you too, but that you had to approve it. I think you met a while ago, I don't approve that. So, there is a high school option. We are not going that far. It's really hard to get kids to participate in the developments of that. So I think statewide, there's 70 teams, where when you look at participation at the elementary, there's 360 teams. So we're not quite ready to take that on yet.
We have a motion. So Brad made the motion, Dave second. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we approve
Thank you
adding
so much.
Battle of the Books. Next is consideration of approval of changing Panther Catering position from leader to director.
I do know about food, so.
Thanks, Steve, for everything.
Kind of fitting that for tonight when we talked about our ACP and our CTE teachers, that, I just bring up Courtney Hawkins and Panther Catering. We've all had her snacks and food at grad parties, our school retirement ceremony, cupcake, cookies, all sorts of delicious stuff. She asked me last year to take a look at her hours and kind of align it to our extracurricular positions. She's currently a leader, which is, well, $3,900. and she's asking to go to a director, which is about $5,300. Part of the reason behind the change is the increase in hours that Courtney has been putting in with her catering outside of the school day. I asked her to track her hours kind of through 22-23 school year. She had 48 different events that she catered, from weddings to grad parties to banquets, Veterans Day ceremonies, and she logged around 234 hours. Talking with Jen, and Jen provided us some of this information. You know, we kind of set, when these parameters were set up before I got here, the director was supposed to be around 11% of around a 1,500 hour school year, and that's about 165 hours, and Courtney's already passed that with her 234. I also see growth in the program and continued growth with the commercial kitchen and the coffee shop that's going in the high school. So I think it's an appropriate time to get a jump start on this, and get her to the director position again, which is an increase of about $1,400.
Be effective next school year or immediately?
Next week.
So moved.
So
Second.
Dave made a motion and Jeff second. Is there any more discussion?
Would she have anybody else in addition working with her then, or to help with the burden?
I think ideally she would have some help. Right now it's a lot of kids. I mean, she gets a ton out from kids. If you've been to any of the banquets that she caters, you know, they dress up in their professional garb and their hats and their their overshirts. But right now I don't believe there's any other adults that are in that position to help out.
I presume that we make money off of this. The district does or not?
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, it's not a lot, but
Cause it just
Yeah.
varies. You know, if we had Michael and Peyton do a business plan, you would fund somebody in her position to do it. It seemed like they should almost treat it. I mean, that would be an element to bring in another curricular thing to say, hey, let's treat this like a business, and how do you make sure?
And she uses it to fund her program. They have a Fund 21 through their program. I believe that they buy materials with, but again, if you had her do work, she doesn't go out there to make a profit. She does our middle border scholar athlete banquet every year. And I had to encourage her to charge $15 per plate, up from 10, because, you know, she does it for the kids and their experience. And it gets them in front of people and preparing the food in, you know, a commercial way.
That's awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed?
Do we have to wait for Josh or something?
All right, it passes. Okay, so next is set date for strategic planning committee meeting.
Yes, so
Who's
as a
doing
reminder,
that?
who's on the strategic planning committee?
So myself, Jeff,
Me.
Lance, and I think you jumping on too.
We've been doing it for the hour before. Does that work?
Yeah, I think the ideal for everyone.
The hour before board. The
Boys game's gonna continue to be on Wednesdays.
It moves so much.
Yeah, okay.
It's hard to tell.
So do
Would you
you-
want to
you know?
shoot then for the next, actually, the
Yeah.
next board meeting is Monday, the 17th. Would Monday the 17th at 6 p.m.?
I know he has a game that day, but I'll make it work. It's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, I can make it work.
Okay,
Second thought, the deadline, kind of the homework of the action plans and the goals, well, gosh, are to be done by Wednesday the 19th.
Oh.
But,
You want to have a special one?
it should be done by then, right? I'm looking at Brian and
I was
the
like, I don't want to speak for.
administrators that are accountable for each,
Yeah.
and myself and Jen and drums, you know, buildings and all that, but.
This is
Let
the
us know by
input
the
that we
17th.
need at the meeting.
Well, like
Or
Lance,
do
when
they
they asked
need
us,
our
hey, did we get
data?
an update? So that's what the update is going to be, some action plans and the actual plan doesn't start until we get back to school in August. Some things are in motion, like Tracy alluded to, but there's no actual set goals yet for each plan, and there isn't an accountability check-in until mid-year. Again, the board agreed to evaluate the progress of each goal twice annually.
So do we want to do it July?
That's what I'm.
So then you're
What's
set.
the
I think we would have a better.
What's the July date?
You're gone of it.
July
17th.
That's the one we just looked at. Was that last year?
Oh, yeah, that's. on
That's the
next year
Wednesday,
one.
is July seventeenth.
Yeah.
Wednesday, July 7th.
No.
Book it.
Book it, take it out.
Okay.
Okay, so we are saying that it will be Wednesday, July 17th at 6 p.m.
Yep, in the conference room here at the Dios.
At what time?
6 p.m.
Okay. All right, so next is resolution authorizing the I don't know. Of a portion of St. Clair Central School District 19,925,000 general obligation refunding bonds.
All right, so back about December, I reached out to Brian Brewer, because we had levied additional funds to prepay more debt when we set the levy back in October. So we had just shy of 1.4 million to use to prepay debt. And Tim and I looked at a couple different scenarios. One was, if you look at the summary of cash defeasance from Baird here, the first option was taking that 2033 7.7 million that's due and prepaying some of that to get that down to a more manageable amount, or trying to tick away at some of those that are out there a little bit longer. So after looking at the detail, it became very apparent that it was much more advantageous with more savings to prepay the 2042 issue, or partially prepay the 2042 issue. So as you can see, by paying that 1.4 million off of that loan, off of that bond, then we save over $1 million in interest costs. So we felt like that one made more sense. I believe the other option saved about 300,000. And again, in talking to Brian, we just wanted to make sure that, we always have the option to refinance that big balloon payment, that 7.7 million. So it's not like if we don't chip away at it, we don't have any options. So we felt like this was the best scenario, was to prepay that 2042 partially and save that over $1 million.
What's the interest rate on that?
That one is 4.25. So it is a little bit higher. We do have some that are at 5%, but they're not out there quite as long. So this one actually had more savings. So any specific questions?
This is what Brian recommends.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Tim and I talked to him, I think it was sometime in January or early February, and just ran through both scenarios, and we came to the conclusion that that 2042 issue was the one that we wanted to target.
I move authorizing the defeasance portion of that 19.9 general obligation refunding loan.
Jeff made the motion and Dave second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank Brian for all he does.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
been amazing.
Yeah, I put some paperwork in the computer because they're, okay, great. And then I'll have this for you to sign too after we're done.
Okay. Okay, so we can move on to consideration of approval of the second readings M through X tonight.
We're gonna look through all of these. Is there anything that the board ought to pay particular attention to?
Well, the unmanned aircraft one was interesting, obviously. There was draft policy that said, it's not allowed. I'm like, well, but you saw the Market Johnson videos. I mean, I thought that was surprising that in this day and age, I get it. There are drones that shouldn't be flown here, but it wasn't allowed, period. So obviously we changed that to
To use them for sports.
with permission, yeah. No, otherwise a lot of it, was facility stuff with Nick Yoder and looking at that, so. No, this is, okay, let's see, something too controversial, hazardous waste management, chemical hygiene, a lot of that stuff. Vehicles, transportation. That's
Most
in
of
the
it
second.
was
we're
as
on the second.
required by law, as if we could have a policy that said.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How far through the policies have we completed?
900s, are the, so yeah, we're through the 7.
We're almost there.
Almost there, yeah, and it gets fewer and fewer as you go up. And the only 900 one we have is the naming of facilities, which we've used a fair amount of time in the last 10 years.
I move approval of policies, whatever it is,
Yeah.
14 and through X.
Why?
And
Through
Why?
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 Second.
All right, so Jeff made the motion, Brad second. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Gary? First readings are just so they can see them. First time, we don't need to approve.
Tim, anything in here that we should highlight, say this would be a change in what we're doing now, or?
The second readings or the first?
No, the first readings.
I think here.
Free and reduced fees.
Oh, that'd be, yeah. Oh, no. No. Electronic signatures is something more common now. The rest is pretty standard stuff we've been operating under for a long time. Yeah, the vending machines, obviously there's the food service policies, et cetera, that probably direct competition with the food service, that, that kind of, transportation, food service, and then some office from copiers, electronic signatures. No, so short answer, no.
In 1987, I had to do a research project to see if some students could sign student loans electronically. So we did a 50-state review plus federal. There's actually a federal law that says a court cannot refuse to enforce electronic signatures. So, electronic signatures are
What year was that?
1987.
Wow.
So now every student loan in the country is signed electronically. But back then, they didn't know if they could do it. Because they go to court, you had to have a wet, what they call a wet signature. We had to keep track of the original promissory note. Yeah. But it can be very
forged, yeah.
enforceable.
It could be forged, so much easier.
All right, so now I can move on to possible future agenda items. Okay. All right, so important upcoming dates, May 24th is the St. Clair Central graduation ceremony at 7 p.m. in the Thompson High School gym. And June 17th, which is a Monday, St. Clair Central School Board meeting here at the district office at 7. So now we need a motion. Motion
I'll move that we convene in a closed session.
for,
Do I have to read the whole thing?
those two things. Yeah.
For Wisconsin statute 19.851F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or investigation of charges against specific persons, except where PAR applies, which if discussed in public would be likely to have substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories of data or involved in such problems or investigations. I, student assessments, exemption requests. 2, open enrollment applications. Have to keep going.
Yeah.
Pursuing the Wisconsin State Statute 1985-1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. 1, consideration of approval of wages and benefits for 2024-2025. 2, quarterly superintendent goals review.
Alright. So Dave made the motion,
Second.
Jeff second, roll call.
Start with Brad.
Brad, you say.
Just say aye.
Aye. Alright, 9:15, well, 9:14. Somebody need a break?